K-drama you can watch on Amazon Prime, and it is also a supernatural K-drama. However, where Revenant was this gritty, more adult, dark and serious supernatural K-drama, this is light, fun, and campy. So Dream is a sports underdog, missed opportunity. I'm flabbergasted. Like, why was IU in this movie? 안녕하세요 여러분, 저는 Maria입니다. 오늘은 I am gonna do a little wrap-up video. It's not a full July wrap-up, but something similar to that, just because I've missed a few weeks of uploading from YouTube. I'm so sorry about that. People who work full-time, go to school, and are consistent with YouTube are machines. They are on a full other level than me. I have great respect, and I don't know how they do it. I have two K-dramas I want to talk about. No, three. Three K-dramas I want to talk about and two C-dramas that I want to talk about. First up, we are going to discuss Revenant, because that is the video I did promise you guys. So let's just jump right into it. Revenant is a 12-episode supernatural thriller mystery K-drama. Our female lead ends up inheriting a cursed object, and when she touches it, the ghost that is residing in that object transfers to her. So she becomes possessed by what they call a juvenile ghost. This ghost can full on take possession of her, take control of her body, act out. It can also separate from her body in this really interesting way and go and commit murders, which she ends up being able to see part of. I really enjoyed the representation of this ghost. As you can see with the female lead's shadow, her shadow is not her own. Her shadow is that of the juvenile ghosts. So when we get in contact with, I would say, probably our male lead of the show, not in the traditional sense of male lead as in their romance interests, but this is the male character who has the most screen time. And he is a professor of folklore at some Korean university. I don't think they specify. But he is able to see ghosts. And they get connected and they go on a mission to try and, rid her, exorcise her of this juvenile ghost. A few pros for me is, one, the folklore aspect of it. I don't know how true everything is to real Korean folklore, but I got the impression as a viewer that there was some research behind this show. I love that the world had very clear rules, like a ghost can only enter through thresholds, so doorways become really important, and also like protective circles are really important. The rain and nighttime is really important, and these things are consistent throughout. I really love when writers realize just how important their world building is and stick to it. Another thing I really enjoyed about this series is that we get involved with a few police officers. So if you can imagine, you have like our male and female lead over on this side, and they represent the supernatural way of investigating things. And then on this side, we have these two police officers. I really loved how both of these groups were operating independently for the vast majority of the season, but they were coming to the same conclusions in very different ways. I thought it was really interesting watching both of their thinking process. That being said, I do wish that the two groups interacted a little bit more. I think whenever they do, that's super engaging within the series. And if they did that a little bit more, it could have only been better. And without giving any spoilers away, I loved this ending. Okay, let's talk about the second K-drama, and that is kind of my first impression thoughts for Heartbeat. This K-drama you can watch on Amazon Prime, and it is also a supernatural K-drama. However, where Revenant was this gritty, more adult, dark and serious supernatural K-drama, this is light, fun, and campy. The main reason why I am dropping Heartbeat, because I've watched 3 to 4 episodes of Heartbeat, around there, is because I just can't latch on to the main character, the main male lead, the vampire himself. His personality I find so jarring, and I can't get invested in him. I don't find there's anything likable about him. Not that he's bad, I just find him quite grating. I have a really hard time sitting through this series. I've tried to watch it on multiple occasions. It takes me multiple days and multiple different sit-throughs to try and get through one episode, just because I don't like him. I don't think I explained what Heartbeat is about, but it's about a vampire who is trying to become human, and one of the methods is to lay in this special coffin for 100 years. This coffin is housed in the basement of this beautiful mansion that he entrusts to his butler and his butler's generations, or is that the right word? Future generations, there we go. And then one day, about 100 years minus one day goes by, and our female lead, who is the descendant of the butler, inherits this home, but does not realize what she's really inheriting, goes into the basement, opens up the coffin, and shenanigans ensue. It's definitely playing for a fish out of water kind of scenario, with the vampire not understanding modern life. I don't think this was done very well. I didn't really like the way he interacted with modern life. It didn't feel very genuine to me. Like, he doesn't seem to have a concept of money, except for in like the 1920s, there was definitely money. So I don't know. If you're having fun with it, great. Personally, I'm moving on. The final K-drama I would like to discuss today is actually a movie, and I don't really review movies at all on this channel, and that's for one reason. It's because I don't really watch a lot of movies. I would prefer to spend more time with characters. But there was one thing that caught my attention about this movie, and that was its cast. I'm a big fan of both of these actors. I know they are incredibly talented, and I have a lot of faith, trust in whatever they choose to work on. Whatever these actors choose to do next, I will give it a try, because they have such a good track record with me personally. I enjoy almost everything that they do. So to me, I'm like, wow, they can really pick a script. I'm sure it'll be great. They did not pick a good script here. And what movie am I talking about? Well, that is none other than Dream. I posted on my community tab, and it sounds like I'm not alone in feeling very disappointed with Dream. So Dream is a sports underdog, missed opportunity movie. All jokes aside, what it's really about is about a soccer player who is kind of like a B-level soccer player. He's not amazing, he's not one of the all-stars, but he's good nonetheless. He works really hard, and he ends up ruining his image, his public image, when he assaults a reporter. And to save his image, his company decides that he should do this documentary where he coaches a homeless man's soccer team. IU's character is the director of this documentary. And we quickly find out that she also doesn't really want to be there. And it leads to a few funny interactions between the two. They both really need this, but they both don't want to be there. So what didn't work about this movie? And there's far more that didn't work that did. Anything that did work, I've essentially forgotten about it, because I'm just so disappointed by the lackluster script, the missed opportunities, how they wasted these characters and these actors. The whole thing just needed like reshoots, it needed editing, it needed like it needed something. Basically, what I think the root problem of this is that it's trying to get the audience to care about far too many of the team members, the homeless men on this soccer team, and it's really prioritizing their stories, which I do think are important. I think this show is trying to gain sympathy and empathy and, you know, like, humanize this population, which is really important. But it really undercuts the male lead and his growth in his story, because I think the main purpose of this movie was for this male lead, this soccer player, to become grounded by the stories of these homeless men. And I think we get there in the end. Like, eventually, like, everything, like, works out how it should with this story, but you just don't understand the progression. You don't get emotionally attached to anybody. I honestly needed to take an intermission with this movie, like, pretty much right in the middle mark, because I really just was not enjoying it. I also don't understand why IU was attached to this movie at all. Her character literally does nothing. Pretty useless. Anybody could have done this role. It's really a throwaway role. If they wanted more screen time to develop both the homeless men's stories and the male lead story, just cut out IU's director role. I'm flabbergasted. Like, why was IU in this movie? Now let's move on to the C-dramas, the Chinese shows. And I realized that I haven't reviewed a Chinese show on this channel for about 2 years, which is just crazy to me. The first one I want to talk about is Hidden Love. I want to preface my review for Hidden Love with, if you are at all uncomfortable with this romance, then this show is not for you, and that's fine. Personally, after watching it, I don't think anything is super problematic, but I have seen other reviewers who physically can't make it past the first couple of episodes because they're so uncomfortable. That's fine. That is totally fine. That reaction is valid. It's okay. But for me, I thought of it more as just a really true representation of a girl and her first crush. What is Hidden Love about? It tells the story of a girl's first love, starting with when she is 14 years old, her first meeting with this man who she will love for years. This man is actually her brother's friend, so there is quite an age gap between them. I think it's 5 years, but I could be wrong. And it tells this lovely story about her developing feelings and their first friendship and kind of a sibling relationship when she's young, but that's good. I think if there was any weird, like, romantic tension between the two of them when she was young, then it would be weirder. But again, like I said, for me personally, it just seems like all fantasy and projection from the girl's point of view. Through the years, there's a bit of separation between them as she truly grows up, and then they meet again in university, or she's in university and he is a working professional. And it's just, the romance, it just makes my heart explode. I think this is probably one of the best Chinese romances, strictly romances, that I've ever seen. I absolutely love the characters. I love the story. I love them together. They're super cute. I am 100% on board for this ship. The only con that I have for this series is that it is a little bit too fluffy. There were certain moments where I thought that they were introducing a bit more of like a hard-hitting plot line, which get abandoned. For example, there are several moments where they talk about this female lead and her eating habits, and it is pointed out by the male lead, and it's kind of like a recurring thing in the beginning, probably the first half. And I thought, oh, are they going to have a discussion about eating disorders? Is is this going to be a bit of the drama of the show, of eating disorders, overcoming eating disorders, just kind of talking about it, because I don't think there's enough discussions about eating disorders within Asian TV, especially considering how prominent diet culture is and unhealthy diet culture. So I got kind of excited. I was like, ooh, what are we doing here? But that's not the case. It gets abandoned. There's nothing really important that happens with her eating habits. Don't get excited. The true drama happens between our male lead and kind of his past and kind of a stalker that he's dealing with, which does work for the story. I loved how they showed that the younger woman could still be on equal ground with this male lead in the way that she defends him, she protects him, she wants to support him. She's not infantilized, and I think that is what makes the show work so well, is because yes, there's an age gap between them, but it's not because this male lead is gone looking for a helpless, innocent girl. She just happens to be younger than him, and I think it really works. Our very last drama of the day is another C-drama, and it's called The Wolf. This has also been a huge disappointment for me. And this review is coming from someone who's watched about 15 episodes. It's probably all I'm going to watch. It follows the love story of a boy who was raised by wolves, and he forms a friendship with a princess who really brings him into the human world and introduces him to society. Unfortunately, this wolf boy is framed for something, and she tries to push him to leave. It's no longer a safe place for him, and to do that, she has to be quite nasty and make it appear like she is betraying his trust. Jump to 8 years later, I think they say, and they're in vastly different places. He has been adopted by the emperor, and he's now like a general or like someone high up and important. And then our female lead is of marriaging age now, and she is being very picky with her suitors because she is still looking for her wolf boy, who she thinks is dead, or at least missing. They reconnect, however, the wolf boy pretends that he is not the wolf boy because he thinks she betrayed him in the past. So it's just drama, angsty. Yeah. The show as a whole is fine. My biggest problem with it is that it really rushes the beginning, and we don't even get to see the two of them, like the princess, the female lead, and the wolf boy. We don't even get to see them meet. We don't even get to see them form the connection. We don't see them become such good friends. We don't watch them fall in love. We don't see any of that. It's just told to us. Like, oh, this stuff happened in the past, now we're here. And that made me very distant from these characters, not really care about the relationship. So when all the betrayal, all the drama, all the separation was happening, I didn't feel it. I didn't care. And that's like a huge problem for the show, because it's the foundation. This beginning relationship, like, this is what the show is about. And I think it's such a shame, and it really robs the audience of an impactful story when we don't get to watch that. Like, give me the Tarzan storyline, please. All throughout the 15 episodes that I watched, I keep referring to events that some of them we don't even watch. They're just flashbacks, but we don't even get to see. Like, we never saw it to begin with. And then they keep referring to certain conversational moments, like there's one scene where she says, I trust you and you trust me, but they kind of like make it more important than it was in the moment. So the emotional beats are just not landing for me. They should have spent way more time in the beginning introducing these characters, showing how they met, showing them form a relationship, especially if that relationship is going to be so important, before all of the heartbreak and the drama happened, because now as the viewer I am so distant from all of the heartbreak that it doesn't matter to me. That's all I'll say about this show. It's a fine show, like the quality's fine, the writing is fine. It just really failed in the beginning. It failed to set up the story that it wanted to tell. Okay, you guys, I have been chatting for about half an hour. I'm gonna have so much fun trying to edit this rambly mess, so I hope you have a good day and a good night. Bye.